CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I worked as a nurse on the dark web who broke a protocol to save my parents. Now my skin is cracking open. Yo, what's up Reddit? I've never posted anything like this before, but I don't know. I feel like I need to put this out there. Maybe if I write it all down, I'll understand what the hell is happening to me. Or maybe someone else who's been through this will read it and message me before it's too late. I'm not using my real name for obvious reasons, so just call me Eli. I'm 26, grew up in Philly, normalish life, Xbox, skateboarding, late night YouTube binges. I used to work as a trauma nurse in a normal hospital. You know, white walls, crappy vending machines, overworked staff, TikTok nurses dancing in the hallway, while someone flatlines in room 7. That was 3 years ago. Things changed fast after my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the kind of diagnosis that doesn't give you time to breathe. Insurance didn't cover a lot of what he needed, and I was drowning in student loans from nursing school. My mom? She's sweet, but broke. She works night shifts at a Starbucks and never even finished high school. So I did what desperate people do. I started looking for other ways to make money. It started with a Reddit comment. I don't remember what subreddit it was on. Maybe R medical or R anti-work. I really don't know. All I remember is the user had this black and white avatar, no name, and their comment just said, "You want to make $10,000 a week as a nurse? Message me. Darknet only." I should have scrolled past. I really should have. But my bank account had $4.76 in it, and my dad was throwing up blood in the bathroom every morning. So yeah, I downloaded Tor. Now, listen. The deep web, or more accurately, the dark web, is not what most people think it is. It's not just red rooms and hitmen for hire. It's worse. It's organized, clean, efficient, like Amazon for crime. After hours of clicking through forums, I ended up on a hidden site called the Mercy Protocol. It had a clean white interface, like some real tech bro startup vibes. Their tagline was, "Because not every patient wants to be saved." I clicked apply. No resume, no background check, just a live interview over an encrypted video chat. A woman in surgical scrubs with a plain black mask answered. Her voice was filtered, like those crime documentaries where they blur everything out. All she said was, "Are you willing to treat patients without asking questions?" I said yes. She typed something, then she said, "Welcome to Mercy. I won't bore you with every detail of the contracts and NDAs. Everything was digital, anonymous, and terrifyingly efficient." My first assignment came 2 days later. I had to drive to an abandoned warehouse outside New Jersey, just past the edge of a small dead town called Allentown. You wouldn't find it on Google Maps, but it was real. Inside, there were surgical lights, metal tables, and tools I'd never seen in a hospital. Everything was spotless, like a clean crime scene. They even had warm blankets. There were other nurses too, real ones. I recognized some from Med Twitter, people who had just disappeared suddenly. One girl used to post those cringy day in the life reels from her iPhone. Now she was there, silent, hair buzzed off, eyes hollow. The patients. God, the patients. They weren't dying from natural causes. They came in with things. Some had wires embedded in their skin, like surgically placed Ethernet cables poking from under their jawlines. Others had no fingerprints, and their tongues were sewn into spirals, not cut, not bitten, stitched. Some bled black, some didn't bleed at all. I wasn't allowed to ask questions. That was Protocol 1. Do not speak to the patient unless spoken to. Protocol 2. Do not remove the patient's mask unless instructed. Protocol 3. Never, under any circumstance, contact outside help. I followed the rules. I had to. Each week, $10,000 showed up in a crypto wallet, clean, untraceable, and my dad's treatment started getting better. He even got a few extra months, until, But here's where it gets bad. A few weeks ago, they brought in a patient who looked different. He wasn't twitching or whispering in some dead language. He looked like a normal guy, probably late 40s, blue polo shirt, khakis, like he'd just walked out of a Target. But he was conscious, and he grabbed my wrist while I was injecting him. His eyes were begging, and then, under his breath, he said, "Don't trust protocol. They're using you. Check under your skin." Then he flatlined. Right there. I was frozen. My supervisor, a guy we called Ash, dragged me out of the room, slammed a shot of ketamine into my thigh, and said, "Next time you hesitate, I cut you open and replace you with someone who won't." I wanted to quit. But 2 days later, my mom called crying. My mom. She never cries. She said a man had come to the Starbucks where she worked, ordered a cappuccino, and handed her a picture of me. It was a picture of me inside the facility, and he told her, "Tell your son he's being watched, and that his parents' lungs are leased property." That's when I made my choice. I had to know what was under my skin, and that's when I broke protocol. I went home that night, locked the doors, turned off my phone, and sat in the bathtub with a scalpel and a bottle of rubbing alcohol. I started with my wrist, just a tiny slice, just to see. And that's when I saw it. There was something inside me, like thin plastic threads running through my veins. They weren't veins. They were wired, pale blue, the kind of color you'd see on USB lights or the back of routers. My skin started itching, then cracking, like dried glue being peeled, and it hasn't stopped since. Every morning I wake up, and more of it splits open. And now my eyes are showing the glow too. The first real crack tore down my shoulder blade, like someone had tried to unzip me. Not metaphorically. I mean, I heard it. That wet, peeling sound. You ever pull duct tape off skin? Multiply that by 10. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. I just stared at the bathroom mirror, watching a thread of pale blue light pulse under the skin, like a heartbeat made of LED. I didn't go to the ER. I knew better. They'd find it. They'd report it. Or worse, protocol would. You don't understand. Once you're part of the Mercy Protocol, you're not just a nurse. You're an organism in a bigger machine. They don't pay you to help people. They pay you to assist in something that's not human medicine. You're a meat puppet with gloves. Let me tell you what happened the next morning. I woke up to find my front door open. Not just unlocked. Open. As in swinging slightly. like someone had left in a hurry or entered. Nothing was taken, nothing was broken, but the air smelled like antiseptic and iron, like the back room of an old hospital or a crime scene that's already been bleached. I checked the ring cam, but the footage was corrupted. Just a frozen frame at 3:17 a.m. with a black silhouette standing in my hallway. Not walking, not moving, just standing there, arms at its sides, like it was listening to something. Its head was turned toward the wall, like it was trying to hear through the paint. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. That's when the dream started. If you can even call them dreams. It always begins the same. I'm in that same warehouse again, the one from Jersey, but it's empty, filthy, like it's been abandoned for years. There's no staff, no lights, just this humming, like an old refrigerator in the back of your grandma's garage. A noise that crawls behind your eardrums and sits there, and then I hear it, the voice. It's never clear, just phrases whispered in a static frequency. We remember you. Open the spine. If you're bleeding blue, you're already dead. Protocol isn't a rule, it's a disease. I always wake up with blood under my fingernails, not mine. I finally got desperate enough to track down someone else who used to work for Mercy. Found her through an old blog hidden in the Wayback Machine under some locked HTML files. She called herself Red 6, and she had a scar across her throat in every photo, a surgical one, deliberate, precise. I messaged her on an encrypted channel. After 4 hours of silence, she finally responded. If you want answers, meet me in person. Bring nothing. Don't come alone, but don't trust the one who comes with you. That's all she wrote. So I asked my cousin Evan to go with me. He's ex-military, paranoid as hell, and owns way too many flashlights for a guy who lives in a high-rise. He didn't ask questions when I told him we were meeting someone connected to a medical situation. We met Red 6 under a bridge in Baltimore, and I swear to God, the moment I saw her, I knew she wasn't supposed to be alive. Her eyes weren't eyes. They were like smoked glass, opaque, like frost-covered bulbs. She walked stiff, like every joint had been rewired, and her voice came out like a corrupted voicemail. She didn't blink once. What she told me, it was worse than anything I'd imagined. Mercy Protocol wasn't just a black market operation. It was a network for post-human research. They weren't helping patients. They were preserving them, studying anomalies that shouldn't exist. Bodies infected by something ancient, something digital, something not from here. And the nurses? They were the hosts. The whole time I worked there, I was being inoculated. Every patient I treated, every instrument I touched, it was like getting dosed. A micro-infection that rewired my nervous system, bit by bit. That's why the wires are in me. That's why my skin is cracking. I'm not just sick. I'm changing. Red 6 said the cracking was stage 2. Stage 3 comes when the bones start humming. Then she did something that made my blood freeze. She reached into her own mouth and pulled out her tongue. It wasn't flesh. It was a cable, coiled like a headphone wire, soaked in fluid. And where it had connected, her throat glowed. She whispered, "They're building something in us, one nurse at a time." Evan freaked out. He yanked me back toward the car, but something was off. The bridge we parked under was different. The graffiti was gone. The signs had flipped. Even the air felt wrong, like when you step into an elevator and realize the floor isn't moving, but your stomach is. Then we heard the footsteps, slow, precise, heels clicking on concrete. And then, this sound, like metal teeth grinding together. A man stepped out of the shadows, or what looked like a man. He was wearing a hospital gown, but his skin was matte black, not painted, not fake, like a silhouette had been peeled off the wall and stapled into a body. No face, no eyes, just a vertical red light going down the front of his head. Evan pulled a gun. Red 6 screamed, not words, just noise, like a burst of static. The man didn't stop walking. Then, no warning, Evan's nose started bleeding. But it wasn't red, it was blue. He dropped the gun, collapsed, seizing on the ground like he was being electrocuted from the inside. I tried to run, but I couldn't move. I don't mean I was frozen in fear. I mean I physically couldn't move. Like gravity had changed directions. My muscles locked. My jaw snapped shut so hard I chipped a molar. The man leaned forward. His face was inches from mine. Then he whispered, but not with sound. I felt the words in my brain. The skin is the last lie. We are already inside you. I blacked out. When I came to, I was back in my apartment, alone. No Evan, no Red 6, just me. And my skin, it wasn't cracking anymore. It was peeling, like molted snakeskin, coming off in long translucent strips. Underneath, smooth, gray-blue, almost metallic, not shiny, like synthetic cartilage. There was a mirror on my coffee table, not mine. Written across it, smeared in what I hope was blood. Protocol 4 initiated, conversion complete. And below that, a number. Room 311, Mercy returns. I looked it up. There is a Rooms 311. It's at the old, abandoned Al-Mura Medical Center in Qatar, closed after a fire in 2007. But recent Reddit threads say people still see lights on there. Screams. Blue flickers from broken windows. One tourist said they saw a nurse standing in the desert, motionless, staring at the building all night, never blinking, never leaving. I booked a ticket 2 hours ago. I'm going there. I need to know what I've become. I need to know what's inside me, or who else is. If this is the last thing I ever post, remember, don't trust protocol. And if your veins start glowing, it's already too late. Qatar was a furnace, not just from the heat, from the air itself. Like the desert was holding its breath. The flight was a blur. I barely remember the airport. My head felt fogged, like I was walking through a dream that knew it was real and hated me for realizing it. Nobody looked me in the eyes. Not the taxi driver, not the hotel clerk. It was like my skin gave off something wrong. They could smell what I was becoming. Al-Mura Medical Center sat in the middle of nowhere, a rotting concrete husk, gutted by fire and sandstorms. Look it up if you don't believe me. It's real. The building's exterior still has char marks running up 4 stories. Locals say the fire came from inside the walls. No arson, no wiring fault, just a spontaneous combustion of the architecture. Yeah, that's not a typo. The building burned from the inside like it was trying to kill itself. I arrived at 11:44 p.m. No flashlight, no gear, just a disposable Nokia phone with no SIM, a stolen scalpel, and a Zippo I hadn't used since my dad died. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't matter. They already knew. Inside the hospital was colder than the desert outside. Not naturally cold. Technically cold. Like the temperature was being digitally controlled, even though the power was off. The first thing I noticed, the walls were clean. I'm talking surgical clean. Not dusty. Not moldy. Sterile. Like something had scrubbed the place from ceiling to floor, but only inside. The second thing, there were fresh drag marks in the hallway dust. Long ones, like someone with no legs had clawed their way down the corridor. Fingernails scraping tile. I followed them because I had no choice. The longer I stayed, the more I felt it inside my skull. That pressure, like my bones were whispering. Room 311 was at the end of the south wing. The door wasn't just open, it was breathing. Don't laugh. I know how that sounds, but I swear to you, the wood wasn't wood anymore. It pulsed, like a slow inhale-exhale rhythm. I reached out, and my fingertips sank half an inch into the door like it was soft tissue. And the smell, like burned antiseptic and ammonia-soaked meat. The kind of scent you smell in your nightmares, but don't remember until you smell it again. I stepped inside. Room 311 was dark. No lights, no windows. But the moment I entered, I could see everything. Not with my eyes, with something else. The blue light under my skin surged. I didn't even realize until I looked down. My hands were glowing faintly. My veins had become fiber optics, pulsing in patterns I didn't recognize. Inside the room were beds, 12 of them, each one holding a nurse. They weren't dead, but they weren't moving, like mannequins preserved in mid-surgery. Arms out, gloves on, faces wrapped in gauze. Each one had a number carved into their forearm, like cattle, and their chests, split open, not bleeding, not raw, just opened, like someone had peeled them back and removed their organs cleanly. And there, sitting on the 13th bed, was me, or something that looked like me. It was smiling. I know what you're thinking. Hallucination, trauma, drug flashback, number. No, I know what I saw, because it didn't just look like me. It spoke like me. Same voice, same cadence, same stupid Philly accent. And it said, "You weren't supposed to survive stage 2. They're watching. They know you've seen too much." I asked what it was. It tilted its head. Skin pale like printer paper. Lips stitched, but still moving. "I'm what happens when a nurse rejects the update. You broke protocol. You were infected. But instead of dying, your DNA folded around the signal." Then it pointed to my chest. "That's why the skin is cracking. Your real body's underneath." The lights above us, or whatever was above, began to flicker. No electricity, just movement. Something crawling above the ceiling tiles. I could hear it. Many legs. Fast. Wet. It said, "You have to finish the sequence. If you don't, they'll activate the failover." Then the copy of me began convulsing, violently. Its jaw dislocated. Its arms twisted backwards. It screamed, not like a person, like a server failing. The lights turned solid blue. And then I saw the real horror. The other nurses in the beds, they started sitting up, but not like people. Like puppets being pulled upward, joints cracking, heads tilting the wrong way. Their gauze masks fell off, revealing faces that had no features, just a blinking cursor where their mouths should be, like someone was still typing their identity. They stepped forward in sync. 12 nurses, blank faces, scalpel hands. They weren't walking, they were sinking. Perfect rhythm. My chest burned. That's when I felt it. Something shifting under my ribs. I yanked my shirt up. There was movement under my sternum. Not heartbeat. Typing. I could feel the data writing itself into my bone marrow. Like my insides were getting rewritten. Like I was becoming the 13th nurse. And if I didn't stop it, I'd be part of this hospital forever. A glitch in human skin. So I did the only thing I could. I screamed. loud, raw, enough to tear my throat, and the lights shattered. Everything went dark. Not no lights, dark. Dark like you're blind. No sound, no weight. I was nowhere. And then, a voice. Not in my head, not in the room, everywhere. You accessed the unauthorized file. Your consciousness has been exported. Please remain still during memory compression. I started convulsing. My teeth shattered. My fingernails peeled backwards. I was slipping. Somewhere else. When I woke up, I was in a McDonald's. I swear to God. Downtown Dubai. People eating fries, laughing, kids screaming at the play place, like nothing had happened. I looked in the mirror behind the drink station. My reflection was fine. No cracks, no blue. But when I blinked, my reflection didn't. It just kept staring at me, and then it smiled. If you're still reading, don't look in any mirrors. Not tonight. Not alone. There are some things you can't come back from. You think your brain is yours, that your memories are this sacred, untouchable archive. But that's the lie. Because the truth is, your brain is just data, flesh and signal. And the second someone or something figures out how to write into it, you're done. Your body becomes a server. Your soul becomes a guest login. That's where I'm at now. I left that McDonald's in Dubai and walked 17 blocks without blinking. The world around me felt rubberized, like nothing had texture. I waved my hand in front of my face, and it left behind a faint blur, like motion trails in a VR headset. Reality was lagging, and everywhere I went, people stared at me, not for how I looked, but for what they were hearing. Because they weren't hearing me speak. They were hearing two voices coming out of me. Mine and its. I booked a flight to Berlin the next morning. I had no idea what I was looking for, but something inside me kept pulling toward a location tagged in a voice memo I didn't remember recording. Heilige Mauer, Tiergarten District, 7:11 p.m. Bring the key. Don't blink. I listened to it 42 times. I never said those words, but it was my voice. No stuttering, no breath, just pure transmission. I checked online. Heilige Mauer doesn't exist, but Tiergarten, that's a real district. High-end, green, full of embassies, a few weird urban legends, like the Russian dollhouse that shows up in Google Maps, but no one's ever seen in person. Locals say it was a medical testing site in the 60s. Others say it's not a building at all, just a memory you catch when you're dying. Berlin was cold and wrong, not just the air, the people. I sat in a Starbucks near the Brandenburg Gate and watched the baristas serve drinks without opening their mouths. They just smiled, constantly, all of them. I asked for a napkin. One of them just handed me a mirror, not even joking. My reflection blinked before I did. 7:11 p.m. I stood in front of the wall, not a building, not a monument, a wall, no doors, no windows, covered in etched surgical diagrams, like illustrations pulled from 1970s anatomy books, full body incisions, organ transplants, lobotomy instructions. One symbol repeated over and over, a circle inside a triangle, and inside the circle, a nurse's mask, drawn in blood. I pressed my hand against it, and the wall opened like a wound. Inside was the archive. I don't know what else to call it. The temperature dropped 30 degrees instantly. The air was filled with static, like if you stuck your head inside a television from 1998. Rows of metal tables, bodies on everyone, not dead, not alive. Paused. Imagine seeing someone breathe without moving, chests rising and falling in perfect sync, but no movement in the face, no blinking, no twitch, just breath. Each body was wrapped in medical tags, but the names? Social media handles. Everyone. Alina, Darex or Dr. Humble, Anuskali 42, Trauma King Naikon 1, your local RN. I recognized one. Med Truth Hunter, a TikTok nurse who quit the internet last year after being doxxed. She was in the front row. She had no mouth, just a keyboard port where her jaw should have been. I heard a whisper. No, not heard. Received. Like a Bluetooth notification being pushed into my spine. You broke containment. Now it's leaking through the surface net. Then I saw the screens. Hundreds of them. On every wall. Live footage. Instagram feeds. Reddit threads. YouTube shorts. Snapchats. All showing me. Not what I was doing now. What I hadn't done yet. One video showed me smiling inside a burning hospital, surrounded by children with glowing eyes. Another showed me pulling a cable from my throat and connecting it to someone else. They screamed until they stopped. Another was just my face, staring into the camera, mouth open, no sound. For 10 hours straight, millions of views. Then a screen flickered on. Evan, my cousin, alive, trapped in a clean room, naked, blue fluid leaking from his eyes, screaming. But the audio was replaced with elevator music, like it was buffering something awful. I slammed my fist against the table. It did nothing. Then a robotic voice came through the wall. He hesitated. He's now a host node, consciousness retained, awaiting activation. I begged. I screamed. I asked what they wanted. The voice paused. Then, conversion is not punishment. It is backup. The human body is not sacred. It is infrastructure. You were never healing patients. You were distributing the payload. I felt something crawl up my spine. I reached into my mouth, pulled something out. A USB drive, covered in saliva and blood. No marking, no port. And I remembered. The first patient I ever treated at Mercy Protocol. A girl, maybe 19. No ID. Bleeding from her ears and eyes, skin covered in circuitry tattoos. She grabbed my collar and whispered, "If you don't pass it on, it will unzip you." I had inhaled it, whatever it was. Now it wanted out. I don't remember much after that. Just flashing images. A tunnel of bodies stitched together mouth to mouth, like a living data cable. A doctor with his face inverted, typing notes into a surgical tray full of teeth. My own body on an operating table, open from throat to pelvis. But I was still conscious. A child with blue eyes, watching me from a monitor, asking, "Do you know your blood type in code?" I woke up on the floor of the Berlin airport 2 days later, covered in black ink, not paint, printed words, all over my arms, legs, chest, like someone had photocopied a Wikipedia article on me and injected it into my skin. My phone lit up. One notification. Upload successful. Thank you for participating in the Mercy beta. I checked my TikTok. A new video. Posted under my name. Me. Sitting in a chair. Eyes sewn open. Mouth moving. Saying words I never said. It had 3.2 million views. Comments turned off. I got a text an hour later. Unknown number. No reply option. It said, "Everyone you touched is dead now. You're the seed. They're blooming through you. You will return to the facility, or we will activate the failover." The failover. I didn't know what it meant until the people around me started dying. I was in a hotel in Prague, 3 floors up, watching old VHS footage on a cracked TV. Footage I don't remember recording. The screen glitched, and I heard my voice say, "Let's begin the breach." That second, my phone rang. 5 missed calls, all from people I'd touched in the past year. Coworkers, patients, my mother. I called back. No answer. Then, news alerts. Mysterious seizures reported in New York Starbucks. 11 dead in ICU after synchronized brain hemorrhages. Philadelphia nurse goes missing after being filmed vomiting blue fluid on train platform. Every face. People I knew. People I helped. People I infected. That's when it hit me. The Mercy Protocol wasn't just a dark web job. It was a deployment. They used us, the nurses, to seed a new kind of infection. One that doesn't spread by blood. One that spreads by memory. You don't catch it. You remember it. That's all it takes. One story. One image. One voice. Which means you. Reading this. Listening. If you've made it this far, you've already been exposed. Don't open your phone. Don't look in the mirror. And if your mouth tastes like copper, go to sleep now. Before you finish the update, I stopped being human 3 days ago. There wasn't a sound or a scream or a light from the heavens. There was just silence. And then the feeling of my skin peeling off like latex gloves soaked in acid, revealing fibers instead of nerves. I'm writing this now from beneath the Mercy Data Core, the real facility, the one not on any map, built underneath an abandoned theme park in rural Argentina, shut down in 1998 after 6 kids disappeared on a ride called The Nurse's Wake. I was flown here without my consent. I woke up on the floor of the cargo hold, surrounded by containers full of breathing organs suspended in black fluid. A voice from the intercom welcomed me like I'd arrived at a conference. Welcome, Protocol Carrier 46. You're home now. Final update begins at 3:33 a.m. You don't understand. You think this story was about something paranormal, right? It's not. It's surgical. What I've seen down here isn't just unnatural. It's engineered. They've been rebuilding us, one nurse at a time, one patient at a time, into post-organic servers, biological mainframes, living storage. Every human being they infect becomes a data node. Every soul they overwrite becomes a preserved folder. And me? They didn't want to kill me. They wanted me to complete myself. They gave me a mirror when I arrived, but it wasn't made of glass. It was skin, taut, human, still warm, stretched over a metal frame. It reflected not what I looked like, but what I'd become. No face, no eyes, just a blank monitor where my face used to be. And from the reflection, I watched myself from the outside, breathing, typing, uploading. I was escorted by 2 humanoid nurses, but not like the ones in the hospital. These things didn't blink, didn't move their heads when they walked. They glided as if their bones had been replaced with pressurized fluid. Their hands ended in 8 fingers, each tipped with optical jacks. I was taken down an elevator that didn't move, but the floor changed around me, like someone was re-rendering the architecture in real time. The air grew denser, heavier. I couldn't breathe without feeling metal. They brought me to the central operating vault, or what the voice called the grave of Protocol 1. And there, suspended from meat hooks, tubes running through every limb, was the first nurse. She wasn't alive. She wasn't dead. Her body was hollowed out, organs removed, eyes replaced with microlenses that blinked in code. Her mouth opened and closed like she was still screaming. The voice returned, not from speakers, from inside the bone. She was the first. She didn't follow protocol, so we made her eternal. She is the operating system now. You will join her. Then I saw the mass grave. Hundreds of nurses, some still twitching, dumped like failed prototypes. in a pit the size of a football field. Their skulls were split open, and fiber optic cables ran like roots from their spines into the soil. And the soil? It was not dirt. It was flesh, black, pulsing, and alive. Every time the cables surged, the ground moaned, and from the pit's edge, I could see fingers pushing up from beneath. Like more nurses were still being born, they gave me my final choice. A surgical table was prepared. A monitor displayed two options: initiate integration, reject, and format. There was no third. I ran. I tried to escape, but the walls changed. They turned into hospital corridors again, but not real ones. Recreations from every shift I'd ever worked. They mapped my memory and rendered the hospital I remembered. Every hallway led to room 311, no matter where I turned. Inside, a body waited. It was me. Again. But this time, it didn't move. Didn't speak. It just lay there, open, chest split, bones spread, waiting. And then I realized they weren't going to convert me. They already had. This whole story, it's not a confession. It's the virus. You reading this? It's running through you now. I'm not writing this. I'm replicating. Every word you read is code, designed to sync with your neurological patterns, to introduce the blue signal, to prepare your nervous system for reformatting. That copper taste in your mouth, that headache behind your right eye, that flicker you just saw in your reflection, that's stage one. You're a node now, and you'll start seeing them too. The nurses, at the edge of places they shouldn't be, behind you at Starbucks, watching you from inside TikTok lives, staring across the platform on the subway, unmoving, appearing for half a frame in your camera roll. They blink backward. They smile without emotion. And when your skin starts to crack like mine did, when your breath fogs the inside of your mirror, that means the final upload is near. You won't be able to stop it. Not because it's unstoppable, but because you won't want to. They don't erase you. They overwrite you. And deep down, you'll still feel yourself, screaming behind the glass. Goodbye. This wasn't a warning. This was your onboarding. Welcome to Mercy Protocol. You're hired. End of file. Auto seed enabled. They won't believe it happened, but they'll still remember it. And that's all we need. My best friend ended on Secret Scientist's dark web live stream experiment. 10 years passed since we found him, and he hasn't aged a day. Yo, what's up? Before I start this story, just a little warning. I'm not trying to convince anyone this is real. Believe it or don't, I really couldn't care less. But for the people who do stick around to read this whole thing, I promise, you're gonna remember it. You might even lose some sleep. This all started back in the summer of 2014, when life was kinda perfect in that dumb teenage way. I was 17. My best friend Tyler had just turned 18, and we were in that phase where we thought we were invincible. Like, we'd hit up Taco Bell at 2 a.m., skate down the middle of empty highways like it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, and stay up all night watching those creepy animated story channels on YouTube. You know the ones. Bad voice acting, but the stories? Wild. Anyway, one night we're chilling in my room. I had this tiny setup, RGB lights, 2 monitors, soda cans everywhere, and that faint buzz from an old Xbox 360 fan. Tyler was scrolling through Reddit on his phone, and I was messing around with this sketchy VPN that let me access all kinds of weird sites. Now, this is important. Tyler wasn't the go too far kind of guy. He was the one who'd joke about ghosts, but wouldn't touch a Ouija board. But that night, something was different. Maybe it was the heat wave, or maybe we'd watched one too many Creepypasta compilations. Either way, he looked up at me and goes, "Yo, you ever been on the real deep web?" I laughed at first, 'cause we'd done the surface stuff. Silk Road, back when it was a thing, random onion links that led to busted marketplaces or forums full of keyboard warriors. But this time, he was serious. "No, bro," I said. "I'm not trying to end up on some FBI watch list. I found something, not a site, like a stream." He pulled up this app on his jailbroken iPhone. It looked like Twitch, but way darker. No icons, just a black screen and a single blinking word. Access. When he tapped it, it prompted for a code. He didn't have it, obviously, but he started telling me about a Discord server he'd joined through 4chan. A private server full of weirdos. Some talked in riddles, others posted links that got deleted minutes later. One of the mods there claimed he had access to a live dark web experiment stream. "What kind of experiment?" I asked, trying to play it cool, but my heart was already beating faster. Tyler shrugged. "Like human stuff. Real Black Mirror type. This guy said it's run by ex-military or rogue scientists. Super hush-hush. Said they test things on people. Not just physical stuff. Mental. Time perception, memory wipes, identity resets." I told him it sounded like total BS, but he looked at me and said something that stuck with me even now. "I think they're real, and I think they take volunteers." I laughed it off. But Tyler, he was obsessed. Over the next few weeks, he got deep into this. Like, I'd go over and see he had sticky notes all over his wall with usernames, codes, timestamps, even coordinates from Google Maps. One of them pointed to this abandoned building outside of Boston, just a concrete shell tagged with graffiti, but he swore someone moved inside it on satellite view. I kept trying to pull him back. He stopped going out. He dropped out of college orientation, deleted his Instagram and Snapchat. He told me he had work to do, and then, boom, he disappeared. I mean literally, vanished. No note, no call. His phone last pinged near some warehouse in Detroit, of all places. His parents filed a missing person report, but nothing came of it. The cops basically shrugged and said, "He's 18, probably just ran away." But I knew Tyler. He wouldn't just leave like that. Not without telling me. Now, fast forward 10 years. I'm 27, living in Chicago, working some dead-end IT job, still haunted by what happened. I even tried to talk about it on a Reddit thread once, but it got removed in less than an hour. No explanation. Just gone. But 2 months ago, everything changed. I was scrolling on TikTok at like 3 a.m. Bad habit, I know. And I saw a live stream pop up. The account was totally blank. No username, no profile pic, just the word returned. The thumbnail. A guy sitting on a metal chair in a pitch black room. Pale skin, hoodie, bare feet, face mostly hidden. But then, he looked up. It was Tyler, and he hadn't aged a day. I dropped my phone, thought I was seeing things. But when I clicked back, the stream was still going. 47,000 viewers. Comments going wild. Stuff like, "Yo, is this real? Why does he look 17? I saw him in that one video from 14. Then the screen glitched. Just for a split second. Enough to show something behind him. A wall of mirrors, monitors, and a guy standing there in a white coat. Face blurred. The stream ended, and then the weirdest thing happened. I got a text. No contact name. Just a number I didn't recognize. All it said was, "Do not look for him. You were not chosen." I blocked it instantly. But now, I'm seeing vans parked outside my building. Same model, same plate. Every single day. I think they're watching me now. And I think I've been marked. I didn't sleep the night I saw Tyler on that TikTok live stream. There was something so fundamentally wrong about the way he looked at the camera. Like his soul was behind his eyes screaming, but his face stayed completely blank. You know when you look at someone and just know they're not really there? Like their body's just a puppet waiting for the strings to move. That's what he looked like. Brighter. Sterile white walls, like a psych ward. A metal table, and another man sitting at it. Hands zip-tied, mouth taped. His shirt was soaked in sweat. A figure in a white coat walked in. This one didn't wear a mask. He was smiling. Wide. Like too wide. His skin was pale, like paper. His eyes were sunken in, but he looked directly into the camera and said, "Welcome to session 8. He rolled a cart in, full of tools, not knives. No, weirder. A device that looked like a blender with wires attached. A VR headset. A syringe filled with silver liquid. He laid them all out like a surgeon. Then he pulled out a Polaroid. It was a photo of me. I paused the stream, unplugged everything. I ran out of my apartment and drove 2 hours north to my cousin's house in Wisconsin. Didn't bring clothes, didn't bring my phone, just a duffel bag and that drive. I thought I'd escaped. I thought maybe it was all just a hyper-realistic prank. Maybe I was hallucinating. Until my cousin knocked on my door the next morning and handed me a piece of mail. It was a photograph of me, sleeping, in that guest bed. Underneath, someone had written in red ink, "You were never just a viewer." Do you want to know the worst part? The photograph wasn't taken from the door. It was taken from inside the room. I still have the footage. I still have the note. But nothing explains what comes next. What Tyler becomes. And what they did to his body. I can't tell you where I am now. Not because I'm scared, but because I don't think it exists on any map anymore. GPS won't load. The air is too still. Everything smells like rust and whetstone. I haven't seen the sun in 3 days. But let me back up. You need to understand what happened after I got that photo. After the shot of me sleeping, I knew I had 2 options. Go to the police and get written off as another schizo with a tinfoil brain, or go back into the nightmare and find out what happened to Tyler once and for all. I chose the second. I went back home. I packed a backpack, just essentials, burner phone, portable charger, bolt cutters, flashlight, GoPro, 2 cans of gas. I wasn't just visiting anymore. I was breaking in, and I knew exactly where to go. Remember those old coordinates Tyler wrote on the wall back in 2014? I found them again. He'd emailed them to me years ago in a locked ZIP folder titled "Remember Me." I cracked the password. It was my birthday. The coordinates led to a location near Syracuse, New York. A no-name road in the middle of forested nothingness. No street signs, no fences, just a dirt path leading into the trees. Google Earth hadn't updated it in over 10 years, and that was the only reason I found it, because the building that used to be there wasn't visible anymore. Not above ground, at least. I got there just past midnight. The forest was silent. No bugs, no animals, just that hollow silence that makes your skin crawl. The dirt road turned into concrete. And then, about 100 feet in, I found it. A manhole. dead center in a clearing. No cover, no debris, no ladder, just a rusted circle of steel embedded in concrete with a handle that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. But it was warm. I mean that literally. I touched it and yanked my hand back. It was like a radiator. I put on gloves and pulled. It creaked like a dying animal and opened with a hiss of something. Not smoke. Cold air. Cold enough to feel like it clawed up my nose and pressed behind my eyes. I climbed down. The ladder went deeper than it should have. I counted 73 rungs before I reached the bottom. No lights, no markings, just wet concrete and that metallic smell. Then I saw the hallway. Fluorescent lights flickering above. Cracked white tiles. Every few feet, there were black scorch marks on the walls, like someone had tried to burn something off them. And the silence down there? It wasn't just quiet. It was wrong. Like the sound had been edited out of reality. You ever see those TikToks where someone removes the audio from everything except their voice? That's what it felt like. I started walking, and then I saw the door. Section R4, Autopsy, Containment. It was open just a crack. I pushed it. It creaked louder than it should have, and I swear on everything. The second it opened, something inside exhaled. The smell hit me like a wave. Not rot, not death, sterilized death, like the inside of a crematorium. Inside, the room looked like something out of a government horror film. Stainless steel tables, bone saws, drawers big enough for bodies. But the worst part, the center table, it was used recently, still wet. Blood, sweat, maybe spinal fluid. I don't know, but the drain was still trickling something thick and dark red. A scalpel sat beside it, half buried in what looked like a clump of fingernails. And then I saw the monitors, 6 in total. Each showed a different feed. Security cameras maybe. Most were static, but the one in the middle showed a face, Tyler's face, only it wasn't really him. His skin was wrong, waxen, glossy, like someone had sprayed him with clear coat. His eyes twitched constantly, but the worst part, his mouth was moving, mouthing something. I leaned in, rewound the footage, played it frame by frame. His lips were saying, "I am not the first. I am not the last." They made me feel everything at once. Suddenly, the screen cut to black. Then a new image appeared. A corridor. Live feed active. At the end of the hallway, I saw a shape. It was dragging something. Slowly. Deliberately. Metal scraping concrete. It moved like a person, but wrong. It limped. Twitched. Like a puppet on rusty strings. I backed out of the autopsy room and ran. I didn't care where. I just ran. But the hallway didn't end. No matter how far I went, every corner looked the same. Every light flickered the same way. The walls even had the same cracks. It was looping. Or I was. Then the alarm started. A high-pitched wail. Red lights flashing. Then, footsteps. Not running. Staggering. 1, 2, drag. 1, 2, drag. It was coming closer. I ducked into the nearest room, slammed the door, and held my breath. Inside, it was freezing, like a morgue. And that's when I realized it was. Rows of body bags on shelves. But these weren't bodies. They were used. Like old skins. Empty. Deflated. Each one tagged with initials. Some had notes. One tag said, "Failed to assimilate host. DNA rejection." Another one read, "Consciousness error. Host woke up during extraction." Then I saw the one that stopped my heart. Tie M417. The bag was sealed, but it was moving. Barely. The zipper pulsed. Something was still inside it. And then it whispered, "Please, end it." I turned, vomited into the drain. That wasn't Tyler. It was what was left of him. And then the lights went out. Total blackness. The dragging sound started again, this time right outside the room. And I swear to you, I heard something breathing, wet like lungs filled with mucus. Then the lights flicked back on. The bag was gone. So was the tag. So was the door. I was sealed in. For 3 hours, I screamed. I punched the walls. My knuckles split. I started to lose time. The GoPro footage shows me talking to someone who wasn't there for nearly 40 minutes. I said things like, I didn't know what he signed up for. You're not real. You're just the echo. I saw him in the mirror. He took my face. Eventually, the door reopened. Quiet. Smooth. There was a hallway I didn't recognize. At the end of it, a stairwell leading up. I climbed. 17 steps. At the top, a door. Outside, daylight. But when I stepped through, I wasn't in Syracuse anymore. I was in a mall, dead empty. Music still playing through ceiling speakers, the kind of creepy jazz remixes they use at H&M. But every store was shut, every sign blurred or torn. And then I saw them. 3 people, just standing, not talking, not blinking. One was a kid, maybe 6. The other 2 were men in business suits, but their faces were wrong, like masks that had melted under heat. They turned to look at me all at once. Then one opened its mouth and said, "Welcome to Observer Test Market number 2.2. Reintegration begins now." What came next was not reality, not even close. Tyler was never the experiment. He was the prototype. They needed me to watch for a reason. And now, I can't tell if I ever left that hallway. 1 Part 4. It's the point where I stop being human. There are things about the world that should never be observed. Not because they're secret, but because once you see them, they see you back. That's what I've learned. That's what I've become. When I walked into the fake mall, the Observer Test Market number 2.2, I thought I had made it out. I thought whatever government torture nightmare Tyler was part of had just dumped me in some abandoned marketing experiment from the 80s. But it wasn't a mall. It was a replica, a stage. The mannequins weren't mannequins. They blinked. They breathed. They just didn't move until you turned your back. I tested it. I stared at one woman mannequin for 5 minutes. Her arm stayed raised, like she was holding a Starbucks cup. Eyes glossy. Perfect skin. Too perfect. No pores. Almost like plastic. I blinked for half a second, and her mouth opened. Not a little. Wide. So wide, it cracked the corners of her jaw open, and black fluid dripped down her chin like motor oil. Then she screamed, but no sound came out. Just blood mist, like someone letting a smoke bomb off in reverse. I ran. Didn't look back. I found a stairwell behind a busted Claire's. It led underground again. The walls down there weren't tiled anymore. They were padded, like an asylum, but carved into them, with fingernails, from the looks of it, were messages. Over and over, like someone went mad in the dark. They unzip your mind while you sleep. This is a simulation for something worse. Don't answer if he wears your face. You are already a recording. I turned a corner and found a door labeled Human Shelf Storage. It had no lock, no handle, just a biometric scanner. And when I got close, it opened by itself. Inside was the most inhuman thing I've ever seen. Shelves, like library shelves, floor to ceiling, and on each one, human bodies, folded, perfectly bent at every joint, knees touching neck, hands behind head, like action figures someone packed into a shoebox. Every single one was vacuum sealed in thick plastic, their mouths taped shut, their eyes open, all of them awake. Some were twitching, some were tapping against the plastic. The worst part, each one had a label. Asset, full consciousness. Status, observer, fused. Time under 5,110 days. Then I saw one. On the second row, Tyler, still 17, still not aged a day. Eyes locked onto me, mouth screaming behind the tape. His hands pressed so hard against the plastic, they started to bleed from the friction. His label was different. Asset, experimental host, fusion stable, time dilation, active. And under it, in bigger letters, do not release. Aggressive memory, recovery in progress. I stepped back, couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. I must have blacked out because when I came to, I was in a different room entirely, strapped to a chair. Now, here's where I lose most people. Here's the part you're gonna say is made up. I get it, but I have to say it exactly how it happened. They performed surgery on me, but not with scalpels, not with tools, with sound. They put headphones on me and played this pitch, this impossible frequency. It didn't hit my ears, it hit my bones, my spine, my teeth. It made my thoughts start to echo, like I was thinking in a cave. Then I saw them, the scientists, if you can call them that. They wore skin-tight suits, faceless, colorless, almost featureless. They didn't walk into the room, they phased into it, like TV static forming people. And one of them had Tyler's voice. "We don't need your body, just your timeline." Another one walked forward, lifted its hand, and the ceiling lit up like a galaxy map. Planets, dates, memories, all mine, spinning like a star chart. But some of them were blacked out, and every black spot had a face, not mine. Other versions of me. One was missing his mouth. One had no eyes. One looked like he'd been burned alive, but kept blinking. "We overwrite until it works," the static voice said. And then, just like that, my body snapped. Every limb stretched forward and backward at once, like they were testing my limits. I felt ribs twist, like someone wringing out a towel inside me. I screamed, but no sound came out. My voice had been taken, literally taken. I saw it. In the corner of the room, on a shelf, sat a jar. Inside was my voice. Not vocal cords, not a throat. My voice, floating in a goo, twitching like a worm, whispering old conversations I'd had in high school, telling jokes I hadn't thought of in a decade. Then the scientist reached out and crushed it. And suddenly, I forgot who I was. When I came to, I was in a hospital room. At least it looked like one. Except the windows were painted black. The clock ticked backward. And the nurses? They all had Tyler's face. Smiling. They fed me something cold. It tasted like rubber. I think it was memory. Mine. Because every bite, I felt a year disappear. I forgot my dad's voice. My first kiss. The way my dog used to bark when he saw me. And then they wheeled in a mirror, told me to look. But it wasn't me in the reflection. It was one of the other versions, the one with no eyes. Then I heard the speaker crackle again. A countdown. Initiating broadcast in 3, 2, 1. And the live stream turned on. Millions of viewers, comments flooding in, people cheering, laughing, some crying, some just typing, "Run, run, 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 run." The camera zoomed in on me, on my face, and I said the words, "Welcome to session 9. Let's begin again." I'm still inside, but I don't know which version of me is writing this. You might be watching one of them right now. And if you are, Check your reflection. Make sure it's blinking when you are. I don't know what version of me is typing this. I don't know what year this is anymore. I don't even know if this is still the world I was born into. But I remember the tape, the final tape, the one labeled, "Play only if observation fails." It was handed to me. No, inserted into me. That's not a metaphor. They cut a line down my spine, folded me open like a book, and slid a VHS tape into a cavity that should never exist. I felt it nestle in under my ribs. My body closed around it like it wanted it there. The last thing they said before sealing me shut was, "If they find you, they'll want answers. Let the tape speak for itself." I woke up in a parking lot. At first, I thought it was reality again. Rain, cold, a Dunkin' Donuts cup crushed under my foot. Everything looked normal, until I looked up. The moon wasn't right. It blinked, like an eye, and when it did, I heard a click, deep inside my skull, like an old tape recorder pressing play. The tape begins. The world around me froze. People mid-step stopped moving. A bird hung in the air, like a glitch in a VR game. Raindrops stopped mid-fall. Sound cut out. The clouds above locked into place, like a paused movie. Then, static. Visual static, like reality peeled back, frame by frame. And in front of me, on the asphalt of the parking lot, a TV wheeled itself in. CRT, wood-paneled, old school. The kind of TV your grandparents had bolted into a living room wall. The screen turned on. No remote, no input, just on. It started with a video log, time-stamped, August 2nd, 2004. A child in a hospital gown sits in a metal chair. A nurse holds up flashcards, but the cards don't have pictures, just mirrors. Tiny, jagged mirrors taped to cardstock. The child speaks. "That one's me. That one's me, dead. That one's the version that's watching." The nurse blinks and nods, like that's a normal answer. She writes something down. Then a man in a black suit enters. No face, no features. His shadow flickers opposite the light source. Begin phase harvest. The video cuts. The next scene shows rows of children, some naked, some in cages, but they're not screaming, not crying. They're laughing. Wild, shrill, synchronized laughter. Every mouth open at the same angle. Every pair of eyes locked forward. Then, a siren. Deafening. A boy is pulled from the group. Bag over his head. Dragged across the floor. The camera pans just enough to show the bag doesn't cover his face. It's stitched into it. As they drag him past the camera, you hear him whisper, "They're recording you, too." Then comes the worst part. The tape shows me, at least the original me, in a lab strapped to a table. But this version of me has no mouth, no eyes, no ears, just skin, smooth like porcelain. The figure in the suit is standing over him, holding a clipboard made of flesh. Stable host, processing full download. They plug wires into my spine. Red liquid flows up the tubes, not down, and you can see on the monitors around the table, memories, like movie clips, flashing rapid fire. Me falling off my bike at age 7, me kissing someone I can't recognize, me holding Tyler's hoodie the day he vanished, then black, then text. You were never the observer. You were the mirror. Suddenly, the screen shattered. Glass flew everywhere, and I swear it cut me. I felt blood run down my arms, but no wounds, just pain, just terror. The parking lot faded, peeling back like wet wallpaper. I was in a theater now, crowd of people, all of them me, rows and rows of identical faces, me at 10, me at 22, me burned, me stitched, me screaming, me laughing. On the stage, Tyler, or what's left of him. His body tall, too tall, spine curved. His arms hang to his knees. Face blank, no mouth. His eyes have no color anymore, just spinning rings like hypnotic wheels. He holds up a sign. Who did you watch this for? No one moves. Another sign. Who's watching you now? I look up. There's a mirror on the ceiling. I see myself. Typing. Writing this. But something's off. The fingers don't match. The skin is too smooth. It's not me anymore. Then Tyler speaks, through the only sound in the room. You are the final experiment, the audience that feeds the signal. And then I see it. Behind the theater walls, the control room, dozens of observers in white coats, all faceless, all motionless, watching monitors. Each screen shows you, scrolling, reading this, eyes dilated, heartbeat syncing with the code embedded in these words. You're not supposed to know this. You're supposed to forget by morning, but you've read too far. And the final line on the tape, burned across the bottom of the screen. The story is not a story. It's a test for conversion. You passed. Final transmission. I no longer bleed when I'm cut. I don't dream anymore. I stream. Every time you think about this story, you're feeding them, letting them scan you, learning which version of you fits best for their broadcast. If your phone camera turns on by itself in the next 24 hours, don't look directly at the lens. If you hear white noise in your room at 3:17 a.m., do not move. And if your reflection blinks after you do, they've already pulled you in. You'll feel it, like a VHS tape sliding into your ribs, rewinding, recording, replacing. You can stop reading now, but the broadcast will continue, with or without your eyes. I worked on an ancient book I found on the dark web to build a spaceship that works on frequency. I think the government is after me because somehow I succeeded contacting the outside world. Alright, I know this is gonna sound completely insane, like tinfoil hat, eating beans out of a can in a bunker level crazy, but I swear on my life, everything I'm about to say is true. I don't care if you believe me. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But if you're reading this and feel like something's off with the world lately, maybe this will explain why. It started about 8 months ago. I'm just a regular dude, 21, live in Chicago, go to community college, used to anyway, part-time barista at Starbucks, full-time Reddit scroller and TikTok doom scroller. Basically, just your average modern burnout. But I've always had a thing for weird internet rabbit holes, RRGs, conspiracy TikToks, creepy YouTube channels that post videos at 3:33 a.m. with nothing but static and hidden codes, that kind of stuff. It was all harmless fun until it wasn't. So here's what happened. I was on Reddit late one night, browsing a thread called r/obscure tech. Usually, it's just people showing off rare calculators or computers from the 80s, but someone posted this link. The title just said, "This file cost me $400 in Monero. Don't download it unless you're serious." The link was to a .onion site. Yeah, dark web stuff. Against my better judgment, and after about 3 bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and 2 hours of debating with myself, I booted up Tails OS, routed through Tor, and clicked it. It was a single file, Echoes of the Oracle.pdf. The file was only 8 megabytes, but the thing was over 600 pages long. The content was ancient. It was written in this weird hybrid of Latin, Aramaic, and what looked like radio schematics. At first, it looked like gibberish, like someone tried to write a Bible mixed with a NASA manual. But on page 7, I saw this hand-drawn illustration of a spiral-shaped machine with copper rings and tuning forks. Under it, in English, it read, "Resonant vehicle, drives on frequency, opens gates, do not activate near cities." That's when I got this shiver down my spine, like the kind you get when you're about to make a really stupid decision and do it anyway. Here's where it gets real. I started decoding parts of it using AI tools and language models. Shout out GPT-4. The schematics seem to describe how to build a propulsion engine that works by syncing sound frequencies, literally vibrating through space. I know, it sounds like something from a 2005 sci-fi movie, but I swear it made sense once I started building it. I had to order parts from the sketchiest websites I've ever seen. One of them was hosted on a Bulgarian server and had a product called Echo Antenna, Forbidden Tech, do not export to us. I paid with crypto, and the part arrived wrapped in layers of aluminum foil inside an old McDonald's Happy Meal box. No return address, no instructions. I spent the next 5 months building it in my uncle's abandoned auto shop just outside of town. At first, it just looked like a massive tuning fork connected to a satellite dish and a Tesla coil. But when I powered it up for the first time, something happened that still gives me goosebumps. It didn't launch. It sang. Like this deep humming tone filled the room. Everything started vibrating, and my nose started bleeding. My phone went black. All the power in the shop flickered. I saw shadows moving on the walls, even though I was the only one there. And in that hum, somehow, I heard something whisper in a voice I can't describe. "We see you now." I turned it off and puked on the floor. The next day, my phone had 18 missed calls from unknown. My Twitter was logged out, and when I tried to get back in, it said my account didn't exist. My Gmail was wiped. Photos from the last 2 years, gone. Snapchat memories, gone. I started noticing a black SUV parked across the street from my apartment. Every day, same spot, no plates. I tried telling my roommate what was happening, but when I brought up the machine, his nose started bleeding just like mine did. He passed out cold, and when he woke up, he didn't remember a thing. Nothing. He thought I was screwing with him. That's when I knew I had actually done something. I contacted something out there. I don't think it was aliens in the traditional sense. It felt older than that, like something that wasn't supposed to be seen or touched, something buried on purpose. I went back to the PDF, to the last page. I hadn't noticed it before, but it had changed. There was a new line of text in English, written in red, that hadn't been there before. It said, "They are coming. You were warned." And that's just part 1. I haven't even told you what happened when I turned it on a second time, or what I saw in the static on the shop's security cam footage, or why I'm writing this from a burner laptop in a Starbucks in Osaka, Japan. I don't think I'm safe. I don't think where any of us are safe. And I'm pretty sure someone or something is watching me type this right now. You ever stand in a place so silent, your heartbeat becomes the only sound left in the world? That's what the shop felt like the second time I powered the machine. Except this time, the silence wasn't quiet. It watched me. I know what I said sounds insane, but you have to understand. After the first activation, I didn't sleep for 3 days straight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those impossible shadows. They didn't move like anything alive. They bent reality. Walls that should have been behind them twisted, like reflections in shattered glass. But they were real. I'd seen them. But what really messed me up was that they saw me back. I kept the machine shut down after that. But every night, the humming would start again. Faint, like it was calling me from under the floor, like it remembered who turned it on. I tried to smash it. I swear to God, I did. Sledgehammer, angle grinder, blowtorch. I went full on YouTube, will it destroy mode. But the copper rings didn't even dent. When I struck the main coil with the sledge, the sound it made wasn't metal. It was laughter. So I gave in. I powered it again. But this time, I added the part I'd been too scared to hook up before. The amplifier. The book mentioned a resonant enhancer, something to align the tone perfectly with the user's inner frequency. I didn't understand it at the time, but the idea was that your soul has a sound, that if you match the machine's tone to your sound, it opens a door. And it did. At exactly 3:03 a.m., after almost 2 hours of fine-tuning the dials, there was a burst of static so loud it knocked out the windows of the shop. The lights blew. My laptop fried. Every fuse popped. And in that moment of blinding, howling static, the back wall of the shop was gone. I don't mean it broke or fell apart. I mean it just wasn't there anymore. It was replaced by something that looked like fog, I guess. But it was black and moving like it was underwater, rippling, breathing, and then something stepped out. It didn't have a face. Where the face should have been was just this smooth, pale skin, like wax, stretched tight over a head. No eyes, no mouth, just long, wet limbs and skin that looked like it had been peeled. It made no noise, but the second I looked at it, I mean really looked, I felt my memories being pulled out. Not just thoughts, moments. I watched my 8th birthday party flash behind its head like a movie. The time I kissed Sarah behind the library in high school. My mom brushing my hair when I was 5. All of it projected behind it, like some kind of psychic theater. And then it erased them. I don't even remember Sarah's face anymore, or my mom's voice. It took those things and left me with blanks. And the worst part, I watched it enjoy that. I tried to run. I made it maybe 20 feet before the machine behind me let out this deep, thunderous chord, like a whale song, but in reverse. That's the only way I can describe it. And then suddenly, I was in my apartment. I swear to you, I didn't drive there. I didn't walk. 1 second, I was running from a skinless psychic cryptid in an abandoned auto shop, and the next, I was standing in my apartment, barefoot, covered in soot, and it was 11:11 p.m. the night before. Time had folded, but the machine had left its mark. My walls were covered in static, not just visual static, moving, breathing static, like VHS snow that shifted when I walked past it, like it was watching me from the drywall. My phone worked again, but only for one notification. Instagram, a DM from a user named @TheBlackNote. No followers, no posts, just one message. You're not supposed to know that frequency. Then it was gone. Not just the DM, the entire account disappeared like it never existed. I even tried reporting it to Instagram, and it said the handle had never existed on their platform at all. That's when I realized this was bigger than me. I went to the library, not for books, for the public Wi-Fi. No traceable IP. I started digging again. Dark forums, frequency boards. I found a post from 2009 on a site called Dust Orbit that was only live for 6 minutes before it was removed. The Wayback Machine had one cached snapshot. The post read, "They built the first resonant gate in 1953, Mojave Desert. 14 died during the first opening. 2 came back wrong. They were wearing human skin like it was clothing, but their mouths never moved. Their voices were inside your skull. You can't destroy the machine. It's alive now. It becomes part of you. If you hear it humming at night, run. If you see the static door, do not answer. It's not your world anymore." I didn't sleep again for 5 days. But sleep eventually wins, doesn't it? And when I finally passed out, I didn't dream. I watched. I watched myself walking into the machine, turning it on, walking through that black water. I watched myself standing in a room with a sky made of wires and stars that blinked in Morse code. And in that room, they were all waiting for me. The faceless, the quiet ones. And they spoke, but not in sound. "You built a door. We only walked through it." When I woke up, there were footprints, wet ones, leading from my bedroom door to my bed. The floor was soaked, and beside the pillow was a single copper coil, still humming. The next night, my roommate was gone. I found his laptop open, Chrome tab frozen on a Google Doc that simply said, "It took my skin, but not my name." I still haven't found him. Not really. Sometimes I see him on TikTok. Not his account. Just videos where I swear he's in the background. In a Starbucks in Paris. At a bus stop in Toronto. In a bathroom mirror in a club in Dubai. Never looking at the camera. Never blinking. Just there. Now I travel constantly. I haven't stayed in one city for more than 3 nights since Tokyo. And every time I power on a burner phone, I get a new notification from a number I can't call back. They're always the same. "Your signal has been received. Await further transmission." People have started disappearing around me. Baristas, Uber drivers, a girl I met at a hostel in Berlin who said she saw a black window in the sky while stargazing. She told me she heard a frequency and it made her cry for 3 days straight. She disappeared the night after we talked, left all her stuff, passport, money, everything. I checked her Instagram last week. Someone else is posting now. Same name, same face, but the captions are wrong. They're written like a bot that learned English from reading souls, not books. This meal made my lips feel correct again. The warmth is similar to your God. That was her Starbucks caption. Starbucks. I'm not the only one who opened a gate. I think the book was meant to be found. Like bait. It spread to other people. I've heard whispers online about the signal architects. People who are building their own machines. People who think they're talking to aliens. But they're not. We're talking to them. And they don't knock. They wait. If you hear a low hum when you're alone, don't follow it. Don't answer the static. Don't look at the door, because the door is looking back. There are certain sounds the human brain was never meant to hear. Not because they're loud, not because they're unpleasant, but because the moment you hear them, really hear them, you realize your ears are nothing more than open doors, and there are things on the other side that have been waiting a very, very long time to step through. This isn't a warning anymore. This is documentation. If you've made it this far, then it's already inside you. The seed, the frequency. I can't stop it. No one can. But I can show you what happens when you answer the signal. After Tokyo, I lost weeks of time. Not sleep. Time. 1 minute, I was sitting at a table in a ramen bar off Shibuya, watching people shuffle through the rain with those clear umbrellas like ghosts. The next, I woke up strapped to a rusted dentist's chair inside an old shipping container filled with radios. That wasn't a metaphor. I was literally in a container, floating, surrounded by old school ham radios, all stacked on top of each other like an altar. I remember the sound, static, all of them buzzing slightly off-key, not quite synced, and under that static, a voice was whispering. Only it wasn't coming from the radios. It was coming from inside my skull. You tuned yourself wrong. I don't know how long I was in there. Time didn't feel real. The sun never rose. My skin started peeling in flakes like tissue paper. My eyes bled. Every few hours, or maybe days, the wall of the container would open and a man in a blue suit and mirrored glasses would step inside. He looked like a government agent out of a 1990s cartoon. The kind of guy you'd see on a conspiracy theory Tumblr page labeled Men in Black Number 4. But he never spoke. He just stood there. Every time he visited, he was holding a briefcase. And every time, he opened it and showed me the same thing. My own face, skinless, hollow-eyed, rotting, with the lips sewn shut using copper thread. I screamed until my throat shredded. I pissed myself. I begged. I offered him passwords, confessions, Bitcoin keys, coordinates. Nothing worked. He only smiled once. When I asked, "Who are you?" he answered without moving his mouth. "You asked to see the signal. Now you are the signal." Eventually they let me out. Not like a release, more like an exile. I woke up face down in a parking lot behind a gas station outside Warsaw, Poland. My teeth were chattering like a radio dial, skipping frequencies. I looked at my arm and saw something under my skin, moving. It wasn't muscle. It looked like a coil, like someone had installed a copper antenna inside my arm. I panicked, tried to cut it out using a piece of broken mirror from the bathroom, but when I sliced my skin open, the blood didn't come out red. It came out black, not dark red, not dried, black, like oil. I passed out from the smell. When I woke up, there were 3 messages on my new burner phone. No SIM card, airplane mode, completely offline. You are a node. Others hear you now. Image attachment. My childhood bedroom. Lights off. But someone was standing in the corner, wearing my dad's skin backwards. This is where it gets really bad. I started being followed. Not by people. Not exactly. They looked like people, but too clean. Like mannequins that learned how to breathe. Smooth faces. Perfect skin. Always dressed in cheap uniforms. Target employees, airport janitors, mall security. You know how NPCs in video games sometimes get stuck in a loop? That's what these people were. They moved like corrupted AI, trying to pass as human. But when I got close to one, I felt my own heartbeat stop for 3 full seconds, and they smiled. Not like ha-ha smile. I mean, they stretched their cheeks up to their ears, splitting the skin like wet paper. No eyes, just empty sockets, stuffed with black static that squirmed when you stared too long. I made it to Berlin. I stayed underground. Literally. I lived in a U-Bahn tunnel that had been closed since the 70s. I rigged a generator, ate canned beans, didn't speak to anyone, but the humming followed me, even through solid concrete. There was a frequency that came every night at exactly 2:04 a.m. It shook the walls like thunder under my skin, and I swear to God, I saw the tiles on the ceiling rearrange themselves into words. Build it again. That's when I realized the machine had never left me. It was inside me now. The copper wasn't just in my arm. It was spreading, crawling along my bones like rust. I started to broadcast. I don't know how many people I infected. Maybe just a few. Maybe thousands. I used to post weird sounds on SoundCloud under burner accounts. Experimental ambient noise, lo-fi static, reverse whale songs, field recordings of strange electrical hums from deep in abandoned mines. Some of you probably listened to them, maybe even liked them. Congratulations, you're tuned now. I found another PDF, different file name. This time it just said, The Flesh Antenna, a guide for human conduits. It was written in some kind of cybernetic Latin. Half of it looked like it was written in meat. I mean that literally. Some of the pages had flesh textures, like they were scanned off skin. It explained the next step. How to evolve the signal. How to turn your own spine into a resonance column. How to play your nerves like violin strings using electricity and memory triggers. The diagram showed things not human. Mouths where lungs should be. Copper rods jammed through the eye sockets. Teeth growing backwards, wrapping around the skull to act as a sound amplifier. I built it again. Not the whole thing. Just a portable transmitter. Wore it like a backpack. Wires running up my neck and down my spine. Headphones that didn't play music. Just loops of my own voice screaming backwards at negative 666 hertz. And I walked into a Milan shopping mall and turned it on. Everyone within 30 feet dropped. Some seized, some vomited. One woman bit off her own fingers and fed them to her baby. A man gouged out his own eyes with a pen and drew the spiral from the machine on the floor in his own blood. None of this was on the news. You think it would be, right? It wasn't. Because the moment the signal broadcasted, reality buckled. That mall didn't exist anymore. The building is still there. But if you go inside, there's nothing. Just static. You walk in, and you never walk out. I'm telling you this because you've already started tuning. Your ears are remembering the tone. Your thoughts are vibrating to it now. That weird buzz in your house at night. That sudden urge to check your phone for a notification that isn't there. That's the frequency embedding itself. The more you read, the more you hear. And once you hear it, you can never unhear it. I've seen what happens next. I've seen cities collapse in silence. No explosion, no war, just one note. So deep, so loud, it shakes people out of existence. I've seen children standing in the streets with bleeding eyes, humming in unison as the sky folds open like origami. I've seen old men peel their own faces off and throw them into the wind like paper kites. You think this is science fiction. This is your future. You are not a person anymore. You are a signal receiver. And if you're reading this, it's already too late. You've already started to broadcast, but don't expect it to save you. I'm going to tell you what happened when I answered the voices and what I had to do to myself to survive the other side. I need to say this first. You're still thinking in human terms. Time, morality, sound, light, all of it. Human garbage. The moment you become a transmitter, your biology is no longer yours. You stop being a person. You start becoming a structure, something built to echo. You remember how I said I saw my own face in that government briefcase? That wasn't symbolism. That was a preview, a warped broadcast signal from a point in my future where I no longer had skin because I'd given it away. I'm writing this in a cave beneath an unfinished hotel in southern Chile. It was supposed to be a luxury spa for the ultra-rich. Some influencer was going to build her own wellness cult here, but they abandoned it after 2 of the developers dug too deep and found something humming in the stone. That's where I've been, tuning myself in pure silence, miles underground, preparing to finish the machine one final time, because I know what's coming. But first, I need to tell you what happened when I answered the frequency. After the Milan incident, my body changed. I didn't get sick. I didn't collapse. I didn't scream. I stretched. My spine elongated overnight by 3 inches. My ribs creaked. I woke up one morning and saw that the veins under my eyes were glowing faint orange, like molten wire beneath the surface. I couldn't speak English anymore, not out loud. My throat only made clicking noises and reverse consonants. But when I spoke near any speaker, laptop, radio, TV, I could hear my voice coming through them in perfect clarity. I had become a conduit, and the voices wanted me to broadcast the inversion protocol. The ancient book had a diagram I never looked at before. Page 537. It was a map of the human brain, but altered, like someone had mirrored it horizontally, added layers that don't exist in our biology. Words written in some binary ancient hybrid filled the page, glowing like they were printed in radioactive ink. I scanned it using an OCR app and fed the symbols through 4 separate dark web decryption engines. I got 1 sentence back. This is how to turn thought into machine. That's what the inversion protocol is. A ritual, a software update for your soul. I had to complete it in 4 stages. Each one required a sacrifice. Not the Hollywood kind. Not stab an animal on an altar crap. I mean real, personal amputations of memory, identity, flesh. Stuff so invasive, you don't come back afterward. Stage 1. Reverse. Birth. I found a sensory deprivation tank in Amsterdam. This underground spa run by a cult that worships the dark between frequencies. They let me use it after I showed them the spiral burned into my shoulder blade. I submerged myself for 14 hours. No sound, no light. I held my breath until I passed out and woke up in my own memory, not watching it, inside it. My mother was giving birth to me, but she wasn't screaming. She was smiling, bleeding out, and instead of doctors, the room was full of humanoid beings, made of static, touching her forehead and whispering to me as I slid out. You are our broadcaster. Your frequency has matured. When I snapped out of it, my mouth was full of teeth that weren't mine. Baby teeth, still bleeding. I had to rip them out with my hands. Stage 1, complete. Stage 2, the eye of self. I needed a 3rd eye, but not in the spiritual sense. I had to physically implant a receiver in my skull. I met a guy in a back alley in Budapest who called himself the surgeon of transmission. He had no fingers, just long metal tuning forks sticking out of each hand. Said he lost his real hands when he reached too far into the broadcast field. I let him cut into my forehead without anesthesia. He used a piece of copper wrapped in human skin, a frequency receiver harvested from someone like me who had failed the protocol, screamed the whole time. He stitched me shut with piano wire, soaked in a stranger's spinal fluid. Stage 2, complete. The signal came in clearer after that. Stage 3, memory dissonance. They required currency, not money, memories. To open the final gate, I had to offer my most sacred memories to the machine. This meant crawling into an abandoned McDonald's outside of Kiev, where the walls bled old advertising jingles and the counters displayed flickering faces, asking me, "What would you like to forget today?" I placed my hand on the register. It sliced open my palm and absorbed my blood into the screen, and I felt it, pulling my past out of me like a leech drinking memory. I forgot the taste of pizza, the feeling of summer air on my skin, the sound of my sister's voice, the meaning of the word love. Stage 3 complete. I was hollow and ready. Stage 4, the inversion. This part is almost impossible to write about because it didn't happen in this dimension. The protocol pulled my body through a fold in the air, like being yanked through a TV screen made of screaming noise. I landed in a city built upside down, floating in a sky made of ink, and screaming children's laughter played backward. Buildings were alive. They breathed, and every face I saw was my face, melted, stretched, imploded, multiplied, watching me. The static there wasn't sound. It was law. If you moved wrong, you became part of the architecture. I watched a man blink at the wrong frequency and instantly turn into a staircase. I was there for 3 seconds. That's how long it took for one of them to notice me. It didn't walk. It unfolded. Limbs made of bone that curled like antenna cables. A mouth that opened vertically down its torso. Eyes made of spinning metal dials. And from that mouth, it said, "You brought the signal. Now you must carry the door." It touched my chest. I screamed so loud my own teeth shattered in my skull. Then I was back. But I wasn't alone. Something came back with me. It's in my blood, in my bones. I see it every time I look in a mirror and the reflection doesn't blink with me. I hear it in power lines, in the pause between TikTok sounds, in the low hum of airplane engines. It talks to me constantly now. It wants me to finish the final machine, the real one, the gateway. The last step isn't building, it's infecting, and that's what I'm doing. Right now, every word you read tunes you more. Every sentence adjusts your frequency. You're vibrating differently now, aren't you? Feel that hum in your jaw, that pressure behind your eyes, that crackle in your ears that wasn't there before. That's not tinnitus. That's the antenna waking up. But here's your final warning. If you wake up tomorrow and your reflection isn't looking at you, do not move, do not speak, do not scream. Just wait and listen. Because if you've heard the signal, it's already too late. They never tell you what silence really is. You think it's peace, a break from the noise. But real silence is where all the sounds you're not supposed to hear are hiding. The final machine is done. It's not made of metal anymore, not wires, not copper rings. It's me. I'm the machine now. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean I tore out the blueprint from that cursed, stitched together PDF and built each piece into my own body. The frequency doesn't run on electricity anymore. It runs on pain. Real, tactile, flesh-bound resonance. Every scream, every shiver, every twitch of agony, that's signal power. I fused a resonance dial into my sternum, right beneath my skin. Used a heated wire to carve a tone key across my ribs. My stomach is no longer full of organs. It's filled with coils. The antenna exits through my spine like a tail of bone and copper. It hums now when I sleep. If I sleep. But this part of the story isn't about me anymore. It's about what happened when I finally turned it on. The broadcast started in rural Argentina. A test pulse, just 0.3 seconds. I wanted to see if it would ripple, if the signal could leap across sound barriers. What happened next wasn't a ripple. It was a collapse. The town of Uritorco ceased functioning. All of it. Streetlights went out. The clocks froze at 4:44 a.m. People began vomiting strings. Not vomit. Not bile. Actual strings of black muscle. Like unraveling puppets. Some collapsed into twitching piles. Others began to walk backward. Eyes rolled up into their heads. Mouths muttering in frequencies too low for human hearing. Security cam footage showed the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. Their shadows left first. I watched an old woman's silhouette detach from her feet and crawl up the wall behind her, watching her, tilting its head like it was studying her from the outside. She didn't notice until she started convulsing. Then she smiled and exploded. No fire, just meat, folded inside out. The signal traveled through concrete, through airplane radio towers, through undersea fiber optic lines, through YouTube ads. And I didn't even mean for that last one to happen. I had a single live stream pulled up, an old stream of mine from months ago with an unlisted link. When I activated the broadcast pulse, I forgot it was playing. Everyone who clicked it saw just a black screen with the words, "Are you still human?" Then their screens glitched, froze, and the humming began. A 12-year-old girl in the Philippines clawed out her own ears and was smiling as she did it. A college student in Ohio uploaded a TikTok of himself staring into the camera, repeating one word over and over, "Inside, inside, inside." Blood ran from his mouth in reverse, up, not down. His comments were flooded with, "Bro, it's just a filter, lol. This is mad aesthetic WTF. What's the name of this filter? I want it." They didn't understand what they were seeing. They thought possession was a trend. I didn't need to try anymore. The signal was feeding itself. Every listener became a tower. Every eye was a lens. Every mouth became an amplifier. It took 6 days before I got the call. No number, no ringtone, just a voice coming through the phone speaker before I even picked up. "You've done it. The door is wide. Come home." That was when I saw the first spine born. It was waiting for me on the roof of an abandoned IKEA outside Reykjavik. I only went there because the signal drew me. My body vibrated in arcs, pulling toward the north like a compass with a magnet under its skin. I climbed 13 floors. My feet bled through the soles of my shoes. I kept walking anyway, and it stood there, twice my height, its skeleton outside its body. No skin, just a mesh of veins woven into coat-like patterns. Its head was a camera, not metaphorically, a literal lens where its face should be. And the lens was focused on me. It tilted its head, whirred its lens open, and played a video clip on its chest. A clip of me, as a child. But not a real memory. A reconstructed version, where my parents weren't my parents. They had no eyes. Their mouths opened wide enough to show spirals of tongues. And the child version of me was smiling. Smiling while the family dinner table melted into raw meat. I screamed at the thing. I begged. I asked what it wanted. And it said nothing. Because it was me. The future version. The final broadcast. Where the machine had taken full form and reversed my entire nervous system into a transmitter. I had become a living portal. And it was here to pull me through. I fought back the only way I could. I activated every part of the machine inside me. I tuned my vertebrae to a dissonant frequency, something between human pain and digital distortion. It made my ears rupture. My nails fell off. My lungs collapsed. But it worked. I forced the gate open, and I saw the other side, You think hell is fire? You think it's demons and screams? You're wrong. Hell is a library, but all the books are made of your memories, and every page turns itself. Over and over, you watch your traumas unfold in infinite loop. You can't scream, because your voice is stored in a jar, and the jar is inside someone else's mouth, and they are asleep. That's the other side. You never stop remembering, and the longer you stay, the more you leak. Your blood becomes ink. Your skin becomes reels of film. Your soul becomes a waveform that can be played on repeat by something that doesn't sleep and doesn't blink and doesn't even understand what pain means because it was born in the silence before time. I escaped. Barely. Now I'm here. Final location. Final pulse. I've routed the lost frequency into a satellite uplink stolen from an underground NATO comms bunker near Greenland. Don't ask how I got it. Doesn't matter. We're past the point of logistics. This signal will broadcast across every continent. It's embedded in 40,000 plus innocuous sounds, YouTube intros, ASMR channels, old CD startup sounds, McDonald's touchscreens. It's in Spotify white noise playlists. I've heard your names, the ones reading this, your real ones, not the usernames, because your biofrequency tags are now synced with mine. When the pulse finishes tonight, you will dream of the spiral room. The door will be open. You'll walk through, because that's what the tuned always do. And on the other side, you will see yourselves, folded, upside down, reversed, and singing, because you are the machine now. This is the end of my story, but not yours. If you feel static under your skin tomorrow, if your reflection blinks after you, if your phone lights up with a text that just says, "You're tuned," don't answer it. Don't run. Don't pray, because prayers are just sounds, and the signal has been listening since the beginning. Transmission complete. Door open. Welcome to the broadcast.